What's going on, everyone? Changing things up just a little bit today because I'm making the big announcement for the show. And I didn't want to give it all away right in the beginning. I'm sure you could probably tell with the way things are looking if you've been perusing the social medias and even the YouTube in the last 5 or 10 minutes, you may have seen what's been going on. But it's time to make the announcement. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back. I'm glad you can make it. So, yes, I wanted to make an announcement on changes happening here at the channel with my channel, with my social media, and so on and so forth. The last year has been pretty eye-opening, to say the least, with how things have been going. Being in this space of YouTube and social media content creation, all of that jazz, you have to go with the flow. You have to kind of understand and go with where your audience takes you. When I started podcasting, when I started content creating a number of years ago, I mean, the first podcast I ever did was technically back in 2012. That was all about video games. And then I fell out of it and then I got back into it. And 2016, I was talking politics with a friend of mine, and then we started talking video games and movies and pop culture as a whole. And then we started a show called the Remote Control Podcast that transitioned into Bridging the Geekdoms. And then eventually I made Slavs Free Talk a couple years ago. But the one thing that's always stayed true is I just love talking pop culture. I just love just discussing just the world of movies and television and nerd and all of that kind of stuff. Now, throughout all of this, the one thing that I've should have noticed myself is I have two loves when it comes to pop culture. Like number one and number two is Star Wars and DC. They've always been at the top for me. And over that time, Star Wars has kind of fallen off a little bit just because of how they've been mishandling it at Lucasfilm and Disney. Now, over the last year or two, I've noticed something with my channel, and I'm sure all of you have as well. My DC content, anytime I talk about DC, anytime I post about DC, that's the content that blows up and gets a lot of traction. So, what ended up happening is for weeks and weeks and months, I've been paying more and more attention to what has been going on with my channel. Now, in November, I'm sure you remember me talking about how I was trying out YouTube ads. And I was trying out YouTube ads because I wanted to see what was going to grab some traction on my channel, specifically if I threw it out to just random people that don't typically peruse my channel. I wanted to see if DC content would actually be something that other people would like to watch and it would draw any kind of attention to my channel at all. And again, I like I said a couple weeks ago, after all of that hoopla around all of that, it did some things, utilizing that tool that YouTube offers. I agree with, I don't agree with. Cool, yeah, it gives you some views, it gives you some watch time, it gives you some subscribers, but as you can see, it doesn't really give you any long-lasting impact on your channel. It's a neat little tool that YouTube offers, but it's not anything substantial. So it didn't give me the data I was looking for. So I kind of sat down and I started like digging through a lot of my channel's information over the last year, really just what is going on with my channel, what is successful, what isn't successful. And when it came down to it, is it's my DC content. And I mean, I brought it up. DC content is what does the best for my channel. So basically what is happening is my channel is going to transition to being fully DC focused. Now, granted, look, when we do the podcast, when we're talking things live, whether it's on here, on my Monday show or my end of the week show, whatever it is, you guys want to talk about it pop culture wise, ask away. I'm not going to shy away from talking about other things during my live shows at all. But what you're going to see is the videos that are popping up throughout the week, things like that are going to be DC centric. So starting immediately, moving forward, it's going to be DC centric. It's going to be all DC all the time for Slavs Free Talk. And you'll see, as you can see up in the corner, DC Breakdown, Slavs Free Talk, DC Breakdown. The DC Breakdown is just the, kind of like the sub title of the channel. I'm still Slavs Free Talk. And again, this isn't necessarily a rebrand. It's just kind of more of a reset, not even a reset. It's just understanding of what draws my audience to the channel. So it's DC. So like I said, the things that are changing, the regular video content is just going to be DC focused. The thing that you guys may like the most is Watchtower is going to be the main podcast now. So Mondays, it's the Watchtower. End of the week, whether it's Thursday or Friday or Saturday, whatever day I'm able to do that podcast at the end of the week, it's going to be the Watchtower. It is always DC centric stuff. So keep a lookout for that. Now, Slavs Free Talk podcast, the old podcast, the main podcast, it was typically Mondays, which always covered the broader pop culture stuff. It is going to be shelved for the time being. I have some ideas of what I may or may not want to do with that, but I will come back to that in the future, and we'll see what I do with that. But rest assured, what isn't changing is me. I'm not changing. I'm not going to change who I am. I'm not going to change the way I handle things, how I approach things, my typical rants, my calling out of misinformation and all that kind of stuff. All of that is going to stay the same. Okay. So that is how it's going to work moving forward. And again, I'm hoping that this is going to help my channel grow faster, serve you, the audience, my dedicated audience who came in because of the DC content. I'm hoping to serve you better. I want to avoid algorithm confusion because, again, when you are in this little YouTube community, YouTube loves niche channels, and DC is going to be that niche that I'm in, and that's how I'm going to move forward, hopefully. So it's going to help build a clear identity with everything else. So in this coming year, obviously 2026, 2025 is just about over. 2026 moving forward is going to be a big year, I hope, for this channel moving forward, DC-centric content moving forward. And like I said, if at any time you guys are like, hey, let's talk about the Avengers teasers that came out, sure, we'll talk about it. That's fine. I have no problem doing that. But this is a DC-centric channel. But just think of it this way. This is a new era for Slavs Free Talk, and this is where DC is going to live moving forward. So I'm excited about it. I hope you guys are. Again, moving forward, this is what's going to happen. And I'm making this announcement now because the holidays are upon us. I am going to take the week of Christmas off. There's not going to be a podcast at all that week, not a Monday podcast, not the end of the week podcast, unless something crazy happens in the news of DC. I'm not going to do a live show at all the week of Christmas. So it's going to be kind of like this week, and then next week there's nothing, and then we'll get back to it the following week. And that's pretty much, we're going forward this week, moving forward. So I'm excited. I hope you guys are. But before we get into all of it, guys, we might as well just open the show as we should, being the Watch.
Hey, buddy. Eyes up here.
You have failed this city.
Wow. I know, right? Hey! Quit messing around!
I'm not messing around. I'm doing important stuff.
Easy, miss. I've got you.
You've got me? Who's got you?
It's you the right. What's the difference between you and me?
I'm not wearing hockey pads.
But that is being human.
All right, guys, let's get into the day. How's everybody going? I see Critic Chris in here. He's excited to be here. I see Trayvon in here. I see Kevco in here. He's in here, says, good evening, chat. I see Jalen. Hey, everyone, what's going on? Who else I've seen? Hunter Iggy in here says, did you see the fake article from Cosmic Book News? Guess what we're going to talk about in a little bit, guy? That article. So we'll talk about that. Don't you worry. Brian with an eye says, the main man. Let's see. Who else is in here? Nobody else is in the comments right now, but that's okay because we got some loyal people in here. I'm ready to get moving with this show. And look, this week was fun. This week was pretty fun. We'll say this past like 4 or 5 days was kind of fun. This weekend, we got some interesting things. Look, what was it? Friday, Thursday? When was it? I guess it was Friday because Thursday we had the Supergirl trailer or teaser. So Friday, all of a sudden there was this like uproar because of lanterns. It was crazy. It was absolutely nuts. So let's talk about that real quick. Cinema Hook's in here. What's going on, Chris? Glad to see you stop by. Thanks, man. We got powerful presenting. He says Matt McClune just gets sued already. Wow. Comics. What's going on? What up? What's going on? Glad to see you from X. What's up? Okay. So the teaser trailer, or not even a teaser. It was kind of just a little 11-second tease for Lanterns dropped with I guess kind of HBO Max little teaser type of thing that they were doing on Friday. And I tell you what, I was excited. Like, this is one of those things that I didn't expect. I don't think anybody expected, but it didn't give us much. Like, we see the two of them, Hal Jordan and Jon Stewart, and they're just kind of walking around. It looks very detective-esque. It looks very procedural, like like a Law and Order or something like that. It just looks like them investigating is pretty much all it does. And then we get this shot of them in the car, and Hal Jordan puts his ring on the dashboard, telling him that, the ring knows when you're ready. He jumps out of the car, and then the car goes off a cliff, pretty much expecting us, whether this is clever cutting on how this scene is going to play out or not, basically telling us that Jon Stewart has to put on the ring, and hopefully the ring will, give him the ability to utilize the ring and become a lantern in that moment. So this is pretty much all it is. That's all we see there. And that's it. So, I mean, it's something. It's something. We haven't seen much for Lanterns to this point, so at least we get something, and it's exciting because we know it's releasing next year. Again, the understanding is that it's releasing late next year. Now, this coming from Hypebeast says, showcasing Kyle Chandler and Aaron Pierre as Green Lanterns in a buddy cop detective drama. First footage of DC Lanterns show Hal Jordan and Jon Stewart. The series is a buddy cop drama investigating a Dark Earth-based murder mystery. The release is strategically moved to late summer 2026 on HBO Max, which has released the first footage from the highly anticipated DC Studio series Lantern, showcasing Chandler as Hal Jordan and Pierre as Jon Stewart, both members of the Green Lantern Corps. The series is structured as a buddy cop detective drama centered on the journey of two intergalactic cops as they delve into a dark murder mystery on Earth. It promises a mix of superhero action and gritty police procedural elements. The dramatic preview includes a scene where Jordan seemingly tests Stewart's readiness to wield the Green Lantern power by driving a car off a cliff, forcing Stewart to use his abilities in an emergency. Notably, DC Studios co-CEO Safran confirmed that the series launch has been strategically moved to late summer 2026 on HBO Max. This places its arrival after the June 26th release of Supergirl next year. Safran indicated that the delay is to ensure the show will receive the right lead-in, the right promotion. Lanterns is set to further expand James Gunn's DC universe. The series will also see the return of Nathan Fillion as Guy Gardner from Superman and introduce Ulrich Thompson as the villainous Sinestro. So this is exciting. I know some people were even looking and trying to dissect the fact that the ring right there is kind of like cracking and it's dark, and they're like, oh, I think he's infected with parallax, and this stuff like how Jordan's gonna be evil, and like they're like trying to twist out of 11-second clip. They're trying to just dissect this as much as possible. This is how much people want to get information on this show, and it is so exciting because look, DC content, we don't have a lot of it right now. So any little bit we can get, we want to dissect and really see what could be going on. But what did you think of it? What did you think of this 11-second clip? Has it excited you even more? Do you think it was just kind of like, meh, it's all right? Like, come on, what is it? Like, do you think they should be showing more? Like, what do you think? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. All right. Where are we at? Let's see. Cinema Hook says way too much unsolicited hate for Supergirl. 100% agree. And I'm glad that you bring that up because it reminds me I'm going to be doing a members only stream after this show where I'm going to talk a little bit about some of the ridiculous claims against Supergirl and how people just jump the gun, no pun intended, on pointing things out without actually thinking straight. So that's what kind of the member stream is going to be about after this show. Kevco says, I can't wait for the cult to claim Green Lantern 2011 like they have the Batman, Black Adam, and now the Flash. It's true. You see how they started claiming the Supergirl from that? It's crazy. Critic Chris says, have you considered watching DC show movies for Watchtower? I know it's time consuming, but maybe start watching episodes of TV DC shows, old or new. I have some ideas on what to do. I have some ideas, but Jalen says, OMG Lanterns looks like Guardians of the Galaxy 5.0. Cinema Hooked. It felt gritty for the tiny bit we got. Yeah, I mean, it's just 11 seconds, so it did feel gritty. It felt very, like I said, more of like a procedural than anything else, which I'm excited about. What I've been trying to tell people for so long is that these series, these shows, anything that's all of these projects that are done by different people specifically are going to have different feels, different tones, different, just way about them that other people are going to be able to get into them. Peacemaker was 100% James Gunn. Superman was a James Gunn film, but you could definitely tell that he kind of, stretched out a little bit and did something different than he doesn't typically do. Peacemaker was 100% James Gunn. Supergirl is going to be 100% Craig Gillespie, and I'll get into that why whenever I do my member only stream later. But that's the thing, like you see this, and now we're seeing Lanterns, just this 11 seconds. You can see this isn't a James Gunn thing. This isn't James Gunn. Like, this is totally different than what we've seen before. So I'm excited for that. Cinema Hook continues. For some reason, I think this test will fail and he'll actually get injured in that scene. Could be 100% wrong, though, but that'd be a good twist. Would be interesting. I could absolutely see that happening for sure. Trayvon says, for some reason, John Campea really got upset because HBO Max had Lanterns as part of a preview reel instead of a full-on teaser. Some people just get mad about certain things that are kind of dumb. Like, I think a lot of people got they're like really hyped on Friday because there was this belief that there was going to be some full teaser. I guess somebody found like some kind of file, like they dug into something and saw a file of something. And it just ended up being Aaron Pierre talking and then showing like a 3-second clip of this 11-second clip. And people got upset about that. I'm not saying that's what Campea got upset about, but let's not forget that we just got a teaser for Supergirl. Like, let things breathe a little bit, The thing is HBO Max is a completely separate entity from DC Studios. And that is something that people don't understand. People will sit there and criticize HBO Max or claim, oh, there's no trust in what James Gunn is doing with Supergirl, so they had to release this. No. It's a completely separate entity. They were just promoting a whole bunch of different reel of different shows for HBO Max. And Lanterns is a show coming out in 2026 for HBO Max. And they promote what is coming out for HBO Max regardless of what is going on with Warner Brothers Pictures or DC Studios. Like they're a separate entity, just like DC Studios is a separate entity, just like Warner Brothers Pictures is a separate entity. Like that's how it works. They have their own structure and they move forward and do what they need to do for HBO Max. I think it was a while ago that James Gunn said something about, I don't know how they do their marketing or how they do things over there. And people took that as like, oh no, James isn't in control. No, that's just how the structure works at Warner Brothers. It's kind of dumb if you ask me, because James should have a say in the marketing for his shows and when they come out. But apparently over at Warner Brothers, the way HBO and HBO Max works, he doesn't. And this is just further proof of that, because I don't think you would want to show even 11 seconds the day after Supergirl teaser came out, because it's like, let that Supergirl teaser breathe. Show us Lanterns in a week or two. Let Supergirl breathe. Let's see. Jalen says, I know everyone wants to see space and stuff and more of GL's powers in this show, but let's just wait and see what happens before saying the show is going to be boring or whatever people are mad at. Yeah, I mean, after 11 seconds, you can't really say anything much about that. Critic Chris says, I hope the GL costumes aren't complete CGI like the Ryan Reynolds GL stuff. I don't think they will be. I think there'll be a mix of CGI and practical, probably more practical than anything is what I'm guessing. Let's see. Cinema said, I'm exactly where I was before, looking forward to the show. Trailer didn't move the needle. And this really wasn't even anything to move the needle per se. It was just kind of like, hey, here's more, or here's something. This is coming in 2026. Don't forget. I think that's more of what it was. Comics. U0026 Christ. I don't know if I'm saying your name right. Anyways, so glad DC live action is embracing the space opera stories, as am I. Best Lex Luthor says, I'm not sure it's that type of show, but Lantern stuff could be primed to sell a lot of merch with all the different colors. I don't know if this season is that kind of show, but it could eventually lead to that for sure. And he also says, this is one of the shows that seems very different. Kyle Chandler is amazing. If anyone hasn't seen Bloodline on Netflix starring Chandler, it's awesome, although sadly canceled after season 2. It's typical for Netflix. You get maybe 2 or 3 seasons and then you're axed. You're gone. All right. So speaking of DC and things, obviously, we got James Gunn, who kind of decided to, I guess, not work here. Come on, you can do it. I believe in you. Come on. Why are you not working? Well, James Gunn was doing something and then decided not to, I guess. Well, let's do this then. So James Gunn decided to not do anything. My internet just wants to not load this for some reason. That's fun. There we go. All right. So James Gunn, look, Man of Tomorrow is going to be a big, big hit for sure in 2027. And casting is underway specifically for the main villain, who everybody thinks is going to be Brainiac. But hold the phone. Hold the phone. Maybe Brainiac isn't the villain. So he was asked about Dave Bautista possibly being cast as Brainiac, because I think it was Grace Randolph who insinuated that. Maybe it was Daniel Richman. Jeff Snyder kind of said, that's what I heard too, or something along those lines. I don't know. But a bunch of con men, a bunch of grifters, a bunch of scoopers, whatever you want to call them, apparently was starting to spread the rumor that Dave Bautista could possibly be cast as Brainiac in Man of Tomorrow. So James Gunn goes, oh boy, let's forget a moment. I've never said Brainiac was in the movie. I freaking love Dave Bautista, and I have many ideas for who he could play in the DCU. But he and I have never discussed a role in Man of Tomorrow, nor have we discussed it amongst ourselves at DC. In addition, truly, none of the names from the 6 or 7 I've seen rumored for a role have auditioned or been discussed at all. So does that mean like Matt Smith, who was discussed, which I think was a big one that people liked? Dave Bautista, there's a bunch of names that have been discussed, but let's take this first sentence that he says here. First sentence he says here. Let's forget a moment. I've never said Brainiac was in the movie. Wait a minute. You didn't say Brainiac is in the movie. He's not wrong. He's never gone out and said Brainiac's in this movie. He's never said that. Now, granted, we've heard rumor, we've heard speculation, we've heard from quote unquote reliable people, maybe, that Brainiac is going to be the villain in this. Let's not forget, and I'm going to credit Real Anarchy, Ben from Real Anarchy for this, because I saw him post a short or a reel the other day about this. Maybe it was today. But before Superman was made, he was questioned on Michael Rosenbaum's podcast about Lex Luthor, and he said basically the same thing, that, Lex Luthor wasn't going to be the villain, essentially. He likes to play coy. He likes to, he doesn't want to reveal things until he's ready to reveal them. And a lot of people don't like that, because, especially DC fans, because they're used to Zack Snyder. And a lot of DC fans are used to the way he basically puts it out on a table as a little clue. Like, he'll put a book on the table with a clue, or he'll put something on social media that's a clue or something like that. And it's just oh, that's completely obvious. And then Zack Snyder never denies it, never acknowledges it, never says anything about it, and just moves on. And everybody's like, oh, okay, that's exactly what it is. Whereas James Gunn, he posted that little, cover of the script, and that was about it. And, talked about Lex Luthor and Superman needing to team up to face a bigger threat and things like that. But he's never really talked about Brainiac, and he's never mentioned Brainiac. So everybody's speculating this. It's probably going to be Brainiac. We pretty much know it's going to be Brainiac, but he doesn't want to let us know yet, because he probably wants to do it the right way. So he's then asked, why do you address these rumors straight on? Isn't better marketing letting people speculate and gossip? So that's a very interesting thing, because I am a big person about speculation. I personally love the discussion that you and I have. You guys in the chat, whether we're here, whether we're on social media, wherever it is, I love the speculation. I love the talk, the banter back and forth, and saying, oh, did you see this? Or, hey, what do you think about this? Or, hey, do you think this person's going to play this role? Or who do you think the villain's going to be? That kind of stuff. That's fun. That's the best part of being a fan of an IP and of a franchise that's brand new and just building. But he says there are numerous reasons. I said, why I addressed this one in the post. Dave is a friend. I don't need a bunch of stories out there about why he didn't get the job or whatever when someone else is eventually cast. And he's actually brought this up before. He doesn't want rumors and ridiculous things out there, because think about it. When casting is going on and stuff like that, he doesn't need these little tidbits getting out there for actors to see that are possibly going to be cast or aren't cast or things like that. And it's a whole thing for them. They don't need that noise. They don't need to see it or hear it or anything. And that makes sense. He shoots this kind of stuff down immediately. So he just gets that down. This is the stuff he shoots down all the time. And that's fine. I actually am fine with that, because honestly, the casting stuff, I'm more of a fan of just give me the cast. I just want to know who the cast is, because I trust their process more than anything. I just am hey, do you think it's going to be Brainiac? What can Brainiac do? Why do you think he's in the story? What do you think he's going to do in the story? That stuff's fun. So for me, I get that, and I'm okay with that. But people just they want to poke him constantly. They want to find a reason, like poke James Gunn, poke James Gunn, poke James Gunn, poke James Gunn. And we're going to get into that in a few minutes here. But all they want to do is just keep poking James Gunn and try and make a big deal out of things that just aren't a big deal. And it's kind of like, guys, come on now. Come on. Like, he's first off debunking things that, yeah, let's debunk this stuff. Who cares? Like, debunk Dave Bautista. It's fine. We know it's not Dave Bautista now. Could be anybody else. He's could have talked about a whole bunch of other stuff. Now let's get back to this first thing. I think it's funny here. I do think it's funny because in addition, he says, truly none of the names from the 6 or 7 I've seen rumored for a role have auditioned or been discussed at all. So I bring that up because he then talks about the names that have been discussed for Brainiac, essentially. But he says it in a way that it's kind of like, well, is it Brainiac or not? Because he says, in addition, truly none of the names from the 6 or 7 I've seen rumored for a role have auditioned or been discussed at all. That is him. Oh, look, it's Brainiac. I mean, it's going to be Brainiac. He basically, I have a feeling when he typed out this response, he probably typed it out and he probably said, in addition, truly none of these names from the 6 or 7 that I've seen rumored for this role have auditioned, or and he probably rewrite it and said, crap, delete for a role. Like, that's probably what happened, just because of the way that it's written and the way it looks. It seems to me that it's kind of like, okay, he didn't have a better way to say it, and he was probably trying to get this response out. But I mean, come on, it is what it is. It's exciting regardless. I still hold to truth that I think he needs to chill a little bit on the responses to some things, but this thing, like, he wants to say, look, it's not Dave Bautista. Okay, that's fine. Like, responding to stuff like this, perfectly fine with that. I'm fine with that. Absolutely. But let me know your thoughts. What do you think about all this Brainiac stuff? Do you think it's Brainiac? Do you not think it's Brainiac? Who do you think he's talking about as the 6 or 7? And do you think he's still talking about Brainiac when he says who have been rumored for a role and have auditioned? Do you think it's for Brainiac? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Let's see over here. We got Hunter Iggy says, do you think is Mongol instead of Brainiac? No, I still think it's Brainiac. Trayvon says, like, for example, before BVS began shooting, we already knew that Batman, Superman, Lois, Wonder Woman, Lex, and Alfred were all going to be in the movie. Yeah, for the most part. Cinema Hooked. I think there's a chance that Brainiac has collected Kandor, possibly an end credit scene in Supergirl. Maybe. Don't go thinking that based off the Supergirl teaser, though, because that is not Kandor that we see in there. Cinema Hook also says, if Brainiac is in Man of Tomorrow and it's the first time we see him, better be 2.5 hours. That character needs screen time to build. Look, as I say all the time, a well-written movie doesn't need to be 3 hours long or 2.5 hours long. A well-written movie doesn't need to be, it could be more than an hour and a half long, but like, if it's a good movie, it just needs to be as long as it needs to be. It's that simple. Willie says, Gunn likes being hated 100% of the time, all the time. He'd feel bad if certain channels weren't calling for his firing. They need those clicks more than him. You're not wrong. Cinema Hook says, that was Argo City in the trailer, correct? Yes, that was Argo. All right, let me take a quick drink here. And let's move on to the next topic. Is it this one? No, it's this one. Oh, still James Gunn. All right. I don't get it. Like I just said, people want to get at James Gunn for some odd reason. It's just like, oh, we got to get him. We got to get him because if we get him, it proves that he's not fit for this role, or it proves that he's not a good director. Or it proves this, or it proves that. Like, I don't understand this absolute need and desire to try and get him for the most ridiculous and asinine things. Because let's think about it. Like, think of other directors in the superhero genre. Do people go after and studio heads? Do people go after Kevin Feige like this? No. Do people go after the Russo brothers? Do people go after Jon Favreau? Do people go after? Well, they don't go after Josh Whedon for this. They go after him for other things. But I mean, think of the Peyton Reeds or things like that. Do they go after these directors and these big producers to try and get them for their movies or for anything? They don't. It is wildly bizarre, this obsession and this idea that we have to get James Gunn. Like, it really makes no sense. So I don't understand, like, this big ghost 13 on Threads. I don't know if this person was being sincere or not. It sounds like in this comment they were being sincere. But they say, I'm having a friendly argument with a friend. I'm Superman when Clark was talking about how he thought Crypto probably felt scared and alone. Was this meant to be a way of Clark implying this is how he feels himself? I think yes, but my friend says no. James says, as far as I'm concerned, your friend is correct. He's primarily feeling empathy for a dog and letting Lois know why he's about to take drastic measures, not feeling sorry for himself. So, he's talking, like, there's a conversation that this guy and another guy are having about just Crypto and about why Clark is going so far out of his way to rescue Crypto. And is it because Superman has a connection to Crypto and feeling out of place in the world, and Crypto probably feels out of place, and that's how Superman felt or not? And James Gunn is basically saying, no, Superman feels for all human beings. He has empathy and feels for all living beings, and Crypto as well. And that's what he's saying. But then this Toby's Time comes in and says, then you missed the point. Superman is all human and all alien. He clearly remembers feeling different, lost, and alone. And that's why he has empathy for the dog. First off, this person has to come in here and try to tell, like, hey, writer, director of this movie, you're wrong about the movie you wrote and directed. Well, no, because he wrote and directed the movie. He knows what he was writing about. Like, he knows what he wrote. He knows what he was thinking when he was writing the script. Okay? So first off, it's not wrong because that's what he wrote. Secondly, regardless, like, if you want to say this is how it was in the comics, okay, that's fine. But let's not forget that every artist, every writer, every filmmaker, everybody who can tackle Superman is allowed to have their own interpretation of it. I'm not saying this Toby's Time is a Snyder fan, but that's what a lot of people sit there and say when it comes to Snyder, is they say, well, his is a different interpretation and he should be allowed to show his different interpretation. You're right. Just as James Gunn, if he wants to change things and have his own interpretation, he's allowed to as well. Just as Bryan Singer was allowed to, which he didn't really do a different interpretation. It was just a continuation of the Christopher Reeve one, but so on and so forth. That you get the point there. Okay? So he says, James Gunn replies, the point is Clark is willing to move mountains even for a dog that he mostly finds irritating, which is absolutely hilarious and adorable. And he says he has empathy for all creatures, great and small. Yes, he does. He says someone who has empathy for others solely based on their own experiences is a narcissist. That's not wrong. Like, for instance, if I'm sitting here saying, I just feel bad for this person because of how I feel, and it's going to make me feel bad because I see what's happening to them, I'm worried about how my feelings are because of what's going on with that person. That is a narcissist. Like, that is what that means. You know, that's what he's trying to explain here. So if that is the sole reason why you do what you're doing, that is a narcissist. That is a narcissist. And he goes, they're not really feeling for the other, they're feeling for themselves. That's absolutely not what Clark is experiencing here. He's truly scared for crypto. Again, he wrote the movie. He understands what it's about. But again, it's this need, this idea, this thought that we have to get James Gunn. We have to prove that he's wrong. He doesn't understand what he's doing. Why? Why? It's absolutely maddening to me. And it's not just coming from one side either. Like, it's not just Snyder bros that are doing it. I see it coming from non-Snyder bros. I see it coming from other people. Like, it's this bizarre, like, twist of, for some reason, they have to go after James Gunn. I don't get it. I honestly don't get it. Maybe you guys understand it. I don't, because you don't see this with other directors. You don't see this with other filmmakers, other studio heads, and things like that. And people can't even sit there and say, "Oh, it happens with Zack Snyder." To a far lesser degree, it happens. And the only reason why it happens with Zack Snyder when it does happen is because of the fan base that he has. And it's more so against the fan base than it is even against Zack Snyder. Because the fan base will sit there and say, look how great his movie is. And the fan base will be like, or the people against the fan base will be like, not really. Do you see how crappy that is? Or how crappy it did on Netflix? Or Netflix doesn't like, they got rid of him. They're not even going at Zack Snyder as much as they're going at the fan base. So, like, to me, what is it? Like, I don't understand it. Like, I truly don't get it. It baffles my mind, like, beyond belief. Like, I literally was trying to sit there today after seeing this back and forth. Like, what is it anymore? What is causing this to happen? Because he makes movies. He made a good Superman movie. He's made a few funny DC films and TV shows. He made damn good Marvel movies. Like, does he deserve this? No. I just don't get it. I honestly don't get it. But I'd love to hear what your thoughts are on this. So let me know your thoughts about this in the comments below. Maybe James knows. Maybe James Gunn actually knows what the deal is behind it. And maybe, James, if you happen to see this, I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments on why you think people come at you like this, because it's absolutely baffling to me. Absolutely baffling. All right. Who else? Supergirl says, hello, Slav. Supergirl's in the house. How are you? Critic Chris says, seems like they want to ruin Gunn, his name and career both. It's baffling. Cinema Hook says, I really don't get the hate for Gunn. I really don't. On top of that, people crying that Supergirl has Guardians of the Galaxy vibes. Are we all going to pretend we don't love Guardians of the Galaxy? Exactly. Even the biggest people who sit there and claim they hate Superman and hate what James Gunn has done, they'll all sit there and say, oh, but I like Guardians of the Galaxy. I like Guardians of the Galaxy. Like, it's crazy. It's crazy, man. It is absolutely crazy. Let's see. Chris says, it's a crime to like both Snyder and Gunn, it seems, to those haters, or one or the other crap. Well, I mean, I like both, so I don't know. I don't know if I can. Can I exist? Am I allowed to exist? Cinema Hook says, I enjoy Zack's trilogy, but I enjoy his new DCU as well, or this new DCU as well. I also effing love Smallville. You're either a DC fan or you're not. You can dislike a film, but a DC fan should always root for DC success. That's what I say all the time. Because, like I say, you don't have to like James Gunn. If you don't like James Gunn, don't like James Gunn. If you don't like his kind of movies, you don't need to like his movies. But you should be hopeful. You should be hopeful that DC and the DCU is going to be successful. You should be hopeful that something's going to come out from the DCU that you're going to enjoy. Instead of trashing it and constantly being toxic about it is not helpful in any way, shape, or form. Sitting there claiming wallet's closed and boycott WBD, sell ZSJL to Netflix and crap like that, that is not helpful. That is not going to do anything but just cause a toxic environment and just brew this hatred between fans. And that's what happens. And it's pathetic. It really is. Comics says, at this point, it's not even about comics or movies. It's rage cult. It's true. You're not wrong. Not wrong on that at all. Cinema Hook says they could hire Snyder for a future film, and instead of Snyder Bros cheering, they'd say James Gunn knows he's failing, so he's desperate and hire the mastermind to save DC. They would say that. Willie says Cosmic Book News did 2 shorts saying that he loves Superman film. 30 days later, he was calling for his firing. Is the need for viewers that important? I didn't know that. Did they really do a story that he said he loves the Superman film? I did not know that. Look, I've called Cosmic Book News out for many things, but I didn't see that one. That's wild. Supergirl says, I'm doing well. I hope the DCU Supergirl eventually becomes more like Supergirl from Superman Batman Apocalypse. In that movie, she embraced embarrassed Darkseid and made him eat his own Omega beams. Oh, I think she's already pretty powerful in the DCU. But I think that this is all story to build her up. Like, you have to understand who she is, where she came from, why she is how she is. But I think she's already pretty powerful. And I think that's what's exciting about this version of Supergirl. And I think eventually she'll become that like ultra Supergirl type of thing. Ultra Supergirl. I don't know why I said it like that, but yeah, you know what I mean. All right. Okay. So moving on. Hey guys, I got some discussions on maybe again with the internet being stupid. All right, well, let's just do this then. Copy that link, go here, and then do that. There we go. So I don't know if you guys saw, but there was a rumor that Brad Pitt was up for a role for the Batman 2. Now, it's looking like this isn't going to pan out, though. This rumor originally was that he was going to play one of the antagonists in the movie. Now, if you ask me, the best part for him would have been like Harvey Dent. I think that would have been fantastic. Brad Pitt as Harvey Dent? Oh, man. That would have been phenomenal. But I think that it's probably a little bit better that Brad Pitt isn't in this movie. And here's why. Brad Pitt's a fantastic, phenomenal actor. He is a fantastic actor. But he's Brad Pitt. I watch a movie and I see Brad Pitt. It's just what happens. And I don't want to go into the city of Gotham. I don't want to watch the Batman Part 2 and see Brad Pitt. Now, mind you, that's not to say that if they didn't make him Two-Face in the movie and then warp his face to look like Two-Face and he doesn't look so much like Brad Pitt, I wouldn't be like, okay, I'm in. I'm all in. But it would be kind of tough. It would be a little tough for sure. Now, mind you, that's just my thought that he could have been Harvey Dent. There's some people who are also speculating that he could have been Victor Fries and that Scarlett Johansson could have been portraying his wife. We still don't know who Scarlett Johansson could be playing in the movie if she is officially cast in the movie. That's another thing. So, to me, that would have been phenomenal. Again, Brad Pitt. I was looking at Batman. I saw the comment over here of Keaton's Batman. For some reason, it hit Ben Affleck in my head. I don't know why. Sorry. Brad Pitt Still, as Victor Fries, would have been a little difficult, but at least there would have probably been some prosthetics or makeup or something to make him look less Brad Pitty. So at least then I probably could have gotten past it myself. But that would not have been a bad idea. I don't know. I just think it's interesting. We're starting to see kind of the type of talent they're reaching for the Batman Part 2. But here's what's interesting. An interesting thought, at least. Do you think they could have been reaching for this kind of talent? You know, let's not forget, they tried to get Emma Stone before they went after Scarlett Johansson. Now there's reports that they're going for someone like Brad Pitt. Do you think that they could be going this route with these big names had it not been for the Penguin show? Like, how big the Penguin was on HBO Max, how much of a hit that was, how prestigious that show was. If it wasn't for the prestige that show brought connected to this universe, do you think that they could have actually said, you know what? Let's go for a Brad Pitt. Let's go for an Emma Stone. Let's go for Scarlett Johansson. These Academy Award winners and nominees for a Batman movie. Now, we know Robert Pattinson, he's in that same ilk, but let's also not forget that he's the titular role. He is Batman. We're talking about supporting roles. We're talking about characters that, you know, may not have a lot of screen time, may have minimal screen time, may only be in one movie for a Batman movie. To me, that's crazy to think about. And we know, look, all of you know, I'm not a big fan of Matt Reeves' Batman. You guys know that. But I can still sit there and say, look, I understand why people are obsessed with it. I understand why people like it. I understand why there's so much hype around it. But the fact that they're now looking at these type of actors to start to fill out new roles for the second film, that's wild to me. That is absolutely wild to me. Because I mean, think about it. DC, and I'm looking at DC in general, but even superhero films right now, they're not at a level where you get those kind of actors anymore. And think of Brad Pitt. Like, would Brad Pitt have ever done a superhero like 10 years ago, even in the DCU? Yes, I know he had that little bit in Deadpool 2. I get that. But that was more of like a comedic little thing. And we know how Brad Pitt can have a fun comedic part. But this sounds like it was probably a bit more of a meatier role. Like, do you really think, like, do you see Brad Pitt doing something like that? I don't. Like, to me, this is the kind of stuff that is impressive to me. It's impressive. And I know Scarlett Johansson has been in Marvel. I get that. But again, like I said, I'm talking more of the DC side of things because DC has just been, it has been shit for 10 years. So, you know, when you talk about DC, it's kind of like, who wants to be part of DC? Nobody ever really wanted to be part of DC for a number of years because of how shitty it has been. To me, it's just wild to think about that. I don't know. But let me know your thoughts about this. Obviously, the rumor is now that Brad Pitt can't do it because of scheduling conflicts. So who are they going to get to replace, you know, or not replace, but in place of him, or who, you know, what they were looking at. I'd love to know what you think he could have been cast as. You know, let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Let's see. Trayvon says, Batman, if the Batman Part 2 is adapting The Long Halloween, then no wonder it always had a release date in October. Very true. It's a possibility. Critic Chris, if we get Two-Face, can we please get the struggle of Harvey and Big Bad Harv as mentioned in Batman the Animated Series? That'd be fun. That would be fun. Trayvon says, I'm surprised that Jennifer Lawrence hasn't been courted for the Batman Part 2 yet. Honestly, I mean, if there was a role for her, they probably would. Cinema Hook says, I mean, Jack Nicholson was in Batman, and that was huge at the time. It's crazy as Batman sequel to be trying to put together an ensemble typecast. again, yeah, I mean, you go back to when Jack Nicholson was, but let's not forget how much or what kind of deal they threw at Jack Nicholson. Like, Jack Nicholson was making money up until today on Batman movies. He literally got money from every single Batman movie that was ever made. Like, that's the kind of deal he got. So, like, he got a hell of a deal on playing the Joker. It was nuts for sure. Definitely a crazy deal he got. Let's see. And let's move on to the final story, which again doesn't want to pull up because my computer's being dumb. I don't think it's the internet. I think it's my computer. My computer. All right. So let's do this and this. And while this is pulling up, I just want to remind everybody that after this show, I will have a members-only show where I talk about Supergirl and how it is not as Guardians of the Galaxy-esque as so many people think it is. I'm going to talk about that in my members-only stream. So if you're not a member, it's really cheap, $2.99 a month. You can get the member-exclusive videos as well as additional little emojis and things like that that you can utilize and play with and have fun with. I don't know what you do with them. Put them in the chat or something like that. And yeah, you can have some fun. Yeah, no, close some old tabs. Look, I have a MacBook, and it's an M2 MacBook, and it should be perfectly fine for this. There's no reason it should be doing this. It just pisses me off. It's all. It's Chrome, because I use Chrome, because StreamYard, you need Chrome. Like, I use Safari over here, but this is Chrome, and Chrome is just, Chrome is stupid. Anyways, okay. But yeah, anyways, so I'll be doing the members-only stream immediately after this. I don't know how I jump back and forth between what I'm saying. All right. Okay. So Cosmic Book News, our good friends at Cosmic Book News. Yes, our good friends. Matt McGloin. It's funny because he acts like he has like this big staff over at Cosmic Book News, but we know it's just him. We know it's just him paying the $1,000 a month or whatever it is to get this little gold check mark by his name. And he is just him sitting in his mom's basement, probably typing away with ChatGPT, creating every single article and tweet that he can make for Cosmic Book News. We know that's what he's doing 100%. Like, he probably is like, I wouldn't be surprised. I would not be surprised if he had like this crazy setup, and on one screen he had a whole bunch of like scoopers, and that's all he's watching is scoopers over here. And when something pops up, he's like, "Ooh, that's interesting," and then throws it in ChatGPT. Make this sound like it came from me with this, and ChatGPT puts up a tweet, and he just pops it up and makes a quick article and pops it up. I bet you he does things like that. I already proved on a members only stream a few weeks back. I think it was a members only stream. Did I do it on a members only stream? I think I did. Maybe. Oh, you know what? That's the one that kind of. I was in the middle of a members only stream, and my computer just crashed. It wasn't this computer; it was my other computer. Just crashed, and I didn't get it. I was in the middle of proving how he uses ChatGPT, and my computer crashed. I think he like hacked into me or something. I don't know. Anyways, but regardless, let's move on to the story. He goes, boom! A new rumor claims James Gunn is out at DC, even with Netflix. Oh boy. He says the reason? Gunn's DCU is too goofy. And there are major concerns about what Gunn will do with Batman. All right. So, I don't pull up his website because I'm not giving him the click. I'm not giving him the traffic. I'm just one person I know, but I'm not pulling it up. Okay, I'll do it. I'll do it for you guys. And I got to put it in the reader because there are way too many ads. So he says, similar to what we have been told, it's again said that James Gunn will be out as head of DC Studios once Warner Brothers Discovery is sold. Recall when I first reported the news that James Gunn went on that YouTube tour and questioned his future at DC. They're going to use that little quote that he said on Boba Talks like crazy. He says, both Deadline and Puck News backed up what I said. Following Netflix winning the bid to buy WBD, Gunn and Safran ran to Bloomberg in a desperate attempt to save their jobs. No, they didn't, but okay. Now YouTube, Tachyon Pulse, who apparently has insider industry connections, says new industry chatter backs up what we've been hearing. James Gunn may not be part of DC's future once Warner Brothers Discovery completes a potential sale. While we have been told Gunn is out, particularly with the Paramount's purchase of Warner Brothers, the YouTuber even says even with Netflix, it looks like Gunn will be out. The reason, according to the YouTuber, Gunn's DCU is too goofy. Superman criticizes cartoonish and fake. In a new video titled Revealing Netflix Big DC Plan Exclusive, Tachyon Pulse relayed comments he says came from an industry analyst raising doubts. He repeats the same thing over and over and over again in his articles. It's so freaking annoying. He says, describe James Gunn's Superman as leaning too far into silliness, echoing concerns allegedly shared by an analyst who is said to have business involved in the industry. James Gunn has took to it and become almost like a cartoon that is actually the word that he used to describe it. While praising parts of the film, he pointed to moments that didn't land. There's 3 or 4 moments in it that didn't make you go, oh, for God's sake. Saving the squirrel, where Superman saved a squirrel, bit silly. He also highlighted a specific sequence that analysts reportedly flagged as weak. A lot of analysts and a lot of people in the industry looked at that and said that scene was not good. It didn't feel like a war zone. It felt like a cartoon. It felt not real. It felt plastic. It felt fake. DC won't reset again, but Gunn may not stay. Let's see. They say they will not scrap this universe and start again. They just won't. Even though they won't do a full reset, it doesn't necessarily mean they'll stick with Gunn. What I'm being told is that the word within the industry is that Safran is well respected, and they really want him to move forward, but creatively they feel that James Gunn is maybe not the person to take it forward. Batman is the biggest issue. One of the biggest red flags raised by the analyst was how Batman fits into the DCU tone. How do you bring Batman, the biggest character in DCU and the DC arguably, into this project when it is done like a kid's cartoon? I'm actively being told that's very unlikely to continue either. They are going to want to bring Batman into this new universe, and that won't work with Robert Pattinson. Yes, it will. I actually think there was way too much going on in this film anyway with all the different characters they brought into it. Too many characters in Superman, they're saying. Okay, so it's all bullshit is what it is. Like, I mean, you can just basically see everything here. Now, here's the thing. This isn't words of Matt McGloin. He's taking this from another bullshit artist who's trying to get in on the con of the century, essentially. The con of the decade, I'll say. And trying to say, Gunn is out, Gunn's going to be fired, Gunn will be gone. Again, I'm going to say it plainly, as plain as day here. There is no executive right now at Netflix, at Paramount, or anywhere that is concerned about James Gunn or Peter Safran in their jobs. All they are worried about right now is getting the deal completed. Plain and simple. That's all they're worried about. They're not worried about what James Gunn is doing. They're not worried about where the DCU is and where it's going to be going. All they're worried about is, when it comes to David Ellison and Paramount, all they're worried about is trying to win and get Warner Brothers. Right now, all Netflix is worried about is making sure Paramount doesn't get Warner Brothers and that they get Warner Brothers and they win and they get it through all the regulators and the FCC. That's all they're worried about. That's all they care about. None of them are sitting there saying, what are we going to do with James Gunn? No. The only people doing that are these con men. They're the only people doing that, making up stories. And it's pathetic. Because Superman is too goofy. Let's step back for a minute. Let's say that's true. Let's just say that Superman was too goofy. Okay? So what ends up happening is the head of the studio, the overall studio, comes out and says, look, Superman did well, but we think it was a little too goofy. So for the follow-up, make it less goofy. Okay, so the next one is less goofy. It's more sincere, more serious. Let's say it makes more money. Okay, it made more money. They were right. The first one was too goofy. We have to lean into the more serious tone, but still have a little bit of the goofiness, have a little more fun with it, but it's not as goofy. There you go. You take the notes from your studio heads and you move forward. That is how the industry works. That is how it works. You don't just fire somebody. You don't just let go of your studio head after one thing that you don't like. Now, if it was a financial failure, a financial bomb, yes, that's when you take a look and you say, okay, maybe we should step back and not utilize this guy. But Superman was not a financial bomb. Peacemaker did not financially bomb. Not at all. We still need to see Supergirl, Clayface, Lanterns, all that stuff. So to sit there and act like, oh, he's gone. That's not how it works, people. These people, these con men, have no idea how the industry works. This Matt McGloin, specifically from Cosmic Book News, has no idea. I see him pop up on my TikTok every once in a while with his squirrely eyes, and he's sitting there and he's like, hey, James Gunn is gone. He's not going to be here anymore. He's gone because they don't want him. It's like, who doesn't want him? Netflix? They can't say that. They don't own it. Paramount? They don't own it either. They don't have a say. Like, the fact that these comment want to sit there and try and convince people of these things is just baffling. It's absolutely baffling. The amount of lies and misinformation and the misguiding that they take everybody on is absurd. And the people that eat it up, I feel bad for them in some way, but there's a part of me that's just like, I think some of you deserve it, and you get what you ask for, you know? Like, let's not forget that it was just a few weeks ago that this guy specifically, Matt McGloin, was promising that the Snyderverse was restored already. Don't forget that Christopher Nolan was meeting with Universal in Saudi Arabia because Christopher Nolan and Zack Snyder were going to team up and take over DC Studios when Universal bought Warner Brothers. That's what he was talking about just a few weeks ago. But he never misses, he says. He hasn't missed in more than 10 years. But these are the kind of people that sit here and say, James Gunn is gone. He's gone. Look, my stance is this. If a company comes in and they want to get rid of James Gunn, so be it. But put somebody in charge that's going to make a fun and good, exciting DC universe. Okay? Don't go back to the old. I don't think bringing in Zack Snyder is a good idea. Look, I want to see his story finished, but he doesn't have an infinite story. He has 2 movies. So don't do that. The reason why James Gunn has been so exciting is because he has a future. He has an idea for ongoing stories. That's what I want to see. That's why I've always been so excited about James Gunn. So if anybody was to come in and say, you know what, James, sorry, but no thanks, and they come in and they get somebody else, just make sure they have a plan that's like that. And don't just jip out on them after 2 or 3 projects. Give them a chance. But it's not going to, I don't see that happening. I see them sticking with James Gunn for a while. I do. That's what I see because let's be honest. They're not going to get rid of somebody that fat. Like it's ridiculous. It's idiotic. It's idiotic. But let me know your thoughts about this in the comments below. People are just absurd, ridiculous. And yeah, those people, you know who you people are. Those Cosmic Book people and of the same ilk. And here's the thing. Like, I want to point something out. Excuse me. You have scoopers like Daniel Richmond, Daniel RPK. You have your Grace Randolphs. You have your people of that nature, you know, those kind of scoopers, okay? Do I sit there and agree with everything they do? No. Do they make mistakes more often than not? Yes. Are they the type of people you should trust and rely on? No. But there's a reason why they don't say crap like this. You know why? Because it is undeniably untrue. It is undeniably ridiculous. It is undeniably clickbait. It is undeniably stupid. That's why people like Grace Randolph and Daniel RPK, they don't buy into this kind of stuff. Those type of scoopers, and I know there's other ones like it. They don't bite into this stuff. But those Jeff Snyder's, the Cosmic Book News, what is this other place called that we just saw? I don't know. Whatever it is, Tachyon Pulse. They're jumping into it because it gets them views, it gets them clicks, even though there's no substance there. Because they don't have real information. They don't have real insider information. I know that Grace Randolph does. I know that Daniel RPK does. Because they do get things right from time to time. They do actually have information that is accurate from time to time. These fools, though, not even close. Not even close. Again, let me know your thoughts in the comments below. I'd love to hear what you had to say about all this. I'm going to run through some of these comments real quick, and then we will get this show over. Trayvon says, who's Tachyon Pulse anyways? I have no idea. Cinema Hook says, Tachyon Pulse, not sure, but he sounds like a shitty The Flash villain in CW. I can hear Cisco Barry get to jitters. Tachyon Pulse just took the whole coffee shop hostage. Trayvon says, please, Netflix, please don't let Paramount control half of our media consumption. Kefko says, if you're dumb enough to believe his bullshit, that's on you. Trayvon says, TNT, CNN, Discovery, TBS, Turner Classic. Okay, yeah. Trayvon says, all those channels and so many others will be under one roof if Ellison got WBD. And Geeper says, restored! Laughing emoji. Willie Fishtagash says, just when you think you found the worst gun hater, another pops up. Movies, TV, Mad is the top of the heap. He looks like Luthor from Challenge of the Super Friends. McGloin is Cronkite next to him. Oh boy, good times, guys. It is good times indeed. Anyways, guys, thank you so much for joining in tonight. It was a blast indeed. Again, just reminding anybody who showed up late, starting today officially, my channel has shifted to being fully DC centric. So no more talking about other things that are pop culture. I mean, if you guys want to talk about it, like I said, in the channel, you can bring it up. That's fine. But moving forward, my channel is fully DC centric. That's what I will be talking about moving forward. So the whole spiel is in the beginning of the show. If you want to go back to it, I will probably be pulling it out and putting it up on the channel and it's on its own. So as like a little preview type of thing. So there we go. Anyways, guys, Crazy Joe says Tachyon Pulse is a bullshit artist who's always lying about Star Trek, and John De La Rose believes everything he says. Nice. Let's see. Cinema Hook says, back when I was on Candy Comic Quest, I had a guy messing me with a legit scoop. I broke the news and a backstage photo of Paltrow in her rescue suit. Wish I had an insider these days. Yeah, honestly, it's kind of, it's not worth it. Not worth it. I've been there. Not worth it. Not worth it at all. All right, guys. Thank you all so much for joining in tonight, and I will catch you all later this week.